Okay, so today we're diving into this crazy story about an ethical hacker
Mm,
who basically outsmarted a cyber criminal
right.
and completely wiped their computer. It's
Yeah.
like a digital vigilante story
Yeah.
ripped straight from the headlines.
Totally.
Our source material for this is a blog post
Okay.
by a tech expert and writer who goes by the name of Sudo Chef.
Cool.
And she describes in this post how her partner,
Uh-huh.
who is an ethical hacker known online as Srhoe,
Okay.
turned the tables on a scammer who was trying to target him.
Interesting.
So this isn't just some like dry tech story.
Yeah.
This is like a thriller with high stakes,
Definitely.
clever tactics, and a very satisfying dose of justice.
I like it.
So we're going to uncover the tricks that these scammers use,
Okay.
skills that the ethical hackers employ to combat them.
Right.
And we'll kind of get into this blurred line between like vigilante justice
Yeah.
and cybersecurity.
It's a fine line sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
Srhoe gets a text message,
Hmm.
and it claims that there's some issue with a software delivery.
Right.
And it urges him to click a link
Mm-hmm.
to verify his information.
Right.
So like classic scare tactic, right?
Classic phishing.
Yeah, we've all seen these types of messages, I think,
Well,
at some point or another.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're using psychological pressure
Right.
to create this sense of urgency,
Mm-hmm.
and they're hoping that he's going to act without thinking.
Yeah.
Click that link and just give up sensitive information.
Mm-hmm.
Login credentials, credit card details.
Stuff like that.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
Yeah. But Srhoe,
Hmm.
being a skilled ethical hacker,
Right.
saw right through this.
Smart guy.
He recognized all the telltale signs of
Mhm.
a scam.
Like what kind of signs?
The urgent language,
Right.
the request for personal information, and then that suspicious link
Mm-hmm.
that probably leads to a malicious website.
It always does.
So instead of falling for the trap,
Right.
Srhoe decides to craft his own counterattack.
Interesting.
So he creates a phishing link
Oh, wow.
mimicking the scammer's tactics. So basically, he's turning the tables on them.
So he's fishing the fisherman?
Yeah, basically.
That's awesome.
So this wasn't just about petty revenge.
Right.
He actually wanted to understand how the scammer was operating
Right.
and like potentially disrupt their whole operation.
Okay, I like it.
So how did he do this?
Yeah, how'd he pull it off?
Like, what skills does an ethical hacker need to create such convincing traps?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, they have to have a really deep understanding of technology,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
but they also need to understand human psychology.
Interesting.
They need to kind of anticipate how that scammer is going to react
Right.
and then create a trap that's irresistible to them.
So it's like a chess game.
It's totally a chess game.
Almost
Yeah.
each side trying to outmaneuver the other. Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so Srhoe played this game masterfully.
Apparently so.
He used the scammer's own tactics against them,
Uh-huh.
and he exploited their greed and their eagerness for a quick score.
Right, because they think they're going to get something for nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
Yeah. Did they take the bait?
Did the scammer take the bait?
Uh-huh.
So the scammer, eager to steal Srhoe's information,
Right.
clicks the link
Oh,
and
wow.
unknowingly hands over their own credentials.
Oh, that's gotta hurt.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So now Srhoe has access to the scammer's system. What did he find?
What you got?
So he finds a treasure trove of stolen data,
Oh, wow.
credit card numbers,
Uh-huh.
social security numbers,
Jeez.
logins for different accounts.
Yeah.
It was evidence of like a large-scale operation.
Of course it was.
But the real kicker is what Srhoe did next.
Okay, what'd he do?
He used a command in the infamous System32 folder
Ooh, the System 32 folder.
to wipe the scammer's computer completely clean.
No way.
Wait,
What?
System32?
What is that?
It's like the heart of a Windows computer.
Okay.
It contains all the critical system files
Mhm.
that the operating system needs to function.
So, like, messing with it,
I
It's-
don't want to mess with it.
not a good idea.
No, unless you really know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. And so he manipulated certain files in this folder,
Mm-hmm.
and he was able to render the scammer's computer completely useless.
So it's like removing the engine from a car.
Yeah.
The car might still look intact,
Right.
but it's not going anywhere.
It's a brick.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a powerful move.
It is.
So he basically shut down this entire scam operation
Uh-huh.
with one carefully chosen command.
That's impressive.
It is, right.
Yeah,
This all sounds pretty intense.
it is.
Ethical hacking seems like a high-stakes game.
Definitely.
But what about the ethics of it all?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't there a gray area when it comes to taking these kinds of actions?
There's a huge gray area.
Even if your intentions are good.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, while Srhoe's actions were undeniably effective, there's this ongoing debate about the legality and the accountability
Right.
of ethical hacking.
So even when it's done with good intentions,
Right.
there's this question of is it appropriate for individuals to take the law into their own hands?
It's a tough one.
Right. It's a good point. This story is a perfect example of how technology can be used for good,
Right.
but also for bad.
Absolutely.
And how the lines between the two can get really blurry.
For sure.
It raises a lot of questions about the power we wield in the digital world and the responsibilities that come with it.
It does.
This story has taken some interesting turns,
For sure.
from phishing scams to ethical hacking takedowns, and then the ethical considerations of it all.
Right.
There's a lot to unpack here.
There is a lot to unpack.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore the rise of artificial intelligence in modern scams
Oh, interesting.
and how that's changing the cybersecurity landscape
Oh,
in ways that we're only beginning to understand.
can't wait.
So before the break, we were discussing how Srhoe, our ethical hacker, took down this scammer
Right.
by wiping their computer clean.
Yeah.
That move, using the System32 folder,
Yeah.
sounds pretty sophisticated.
It is pretty sophisticated. It's like, think of the System32 folder as like the brain of a Windows computer.
Okay.
It contains all the essential files that the operating system needs to function.
Right.
And even a small change in that folder can have a major impact.
Wow.
Srhoe knew exactly which files to target
Okay.
to make that computer unusable.
So it wasn't just like a random command.
No.
He had to really understand how those system files worked.
He had to know what he was doing.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Ethical hackers like Srhoe, they have this deep understanding of operating systems.
Yeah, okay.
And they know how to find and exploit vulnerabilities.
It's like being a mechanic.
It is.
Who knows every nut and bolt in a car engine.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
They can take it apart and put it back together.
Right.
And even make modifications to improve its performance.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what about the tools that ethical hackers use, though? Like what kind of software or techniques?
Well, they have a full arsenal of tools at their disposal. Some use what are called vulnerability scanners.
Okay.
And those are kind of like automated detectives that scan systems
Right.
for any known weaknesses.
Okay.
Others will use penetration testing tools.
Uh-huh.
And these tools are used to simulate attacks
Okay.
and see how a system holds up.
So they're basically like trying to break into systems on purpose.
They are?
But for a good reason.
Yes.
It's like a controlled experiment. To find the weak spots.
Yes.
Before the bad guys do.
Exactly.
So they're using the same tactics as cybercriminals.
They are?
But with the goal of improving security, not exploiting it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's like a very intense security audit.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like a high-stakes game of cat and mouse.
It really is.
Especially with technology constantly evolving.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cybercriminals are always developing new methods.
Right.
And the ethical hackers have to stay one step ahead.
So they're constantly learning.
And searching.
Developing new tools and techniques.
Absolutely.
To counter these emerging threats.
That's the job.
The blog post also mentioned the rise of AI in scams.
Oh, yeah.
Which seems like a whole other level of complexity.
It really is.
Yeah.
AI is a total game changer.
Yes.
Cybercriminals are using it to create more convincing and sophisticated attacks.
Okay.
Which makes it harder for people to spot those red flags.
So we're talking about things like AI-powered phishing emails.
Yes.
That are even more personalized and convincing.
Exactly.
AI-generated content that looks and sounds incredibly real. So for example, like receiving a phone call.
Yeah.
That sounds exactly like your bank representative.
Right.
But it's actually an AI-powered deepfake.
It could happen.
Designed to trick you into revealing sensitive information.
That's right.
That's a little terrifying.
It is a bit scary.
Yeah.
It's like technology is making it easier for scammers to manipulate people.
Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.
But AI can also be used for good.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Ethical hackers are using AI as well to develop better security tools and countermeasures to combat these AI-driven scams.
So an ongoing battle.
A constant battle.
Between those who want to exploit technology for malicious purposes and those who are fighting to protect people.
That's right. Good versus evil in the digital world.
It sounds like staying ahead of these threats requires a combination of things.
Because,
Technical expertise, awareness,
yeah,
and a healthy dose of skepticism.
for sure.
Yeah.
We all need to be critical thinkers,
Yeah. Right.
and constantly question the information that we see online.
Especially now.
Especially now.
Yeah.
If something seems too good to be true.
Right.
Or if you're feeling pressured to act quickly,
Mm-hmm.
it's always best to pause.
Yeah.
Verify the information.
Right.
And trust your gut.
This has been a fascinating look into the world of ethical hacking,
Yeah.
the tools they use,
Mm-hmm.
and this evolving threat of AI-driven scams.
Yeah.
But Srhoe's story raises another question for me.
What's that?
What about the legal and ethical implications
Yeah.
of taking down a scammer in this way?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Right.
While taking down a scammer might feel like justice being served,
Uh-huh.
it does kind of blur the lines between vigilante justice
Yeah.
and legitimate cybersecurity practices.
So we'll delve deeper into these ethical considerations in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive, and I want to kind of like circle back to something we touched on earlier,
Okay.
the ethics of Srhoe's actions.
Right. Yeah. Taking down a scammer might feel good,
Right.
but it really brings up some interesting questions
Uh-huh.
about, where do we draw the line
Right.
between ethical hacking and vigilantism?
Right. Is this just like a straight up superhero dilemma?
It really is.
You know?
Yeah. How much power do individuals have to enforce justice,
Right.
even if they're doing it for the right reasons?
And I think Srhoe's story kind of highlights this tension
It does.
between achieving justice and then upholding the rule of law.
Exactly.
Like even scammers,
Yeah.
despite their malicious actions, are entitled to due process.
They are.
So while Srhoe's intentions were good, his actions could be viewed as bypassing established legal procedures.
They could.
And what about unintended consequences?
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Like wiping a scammer's computer
Uh-huh.
that could destroy evidence
Because
that law enforcement could use
Right.
to track down other criminals
Exactly.
or uncover larger criminal networks.
It's like a domino effect.
Yeah,
One action can have ripple effects.
we might not always be able to anticipate those consequences,
Right.
even when we're trying to do the right thing.
That's the tricky part.
Right,
Yeah. And this ethical dilemma just becomes even more complex
Mhm.
when you think about AI.
Right.
Because AI is becoming so sophisticated.
Imagine a future where AI systems are used to
Yeah.
identify
Right.
and neutralize cyber threats autonomously.
That's coming.
That's kind of scary.
It is a little scary.
Who's responsible when an AI system
Right.
makes a decision that has negative consequences?
Yeah, who do you blame? And how do you even make sure that these AI systems are operating ethically?
Within the bounds of the law.
It's like opening Pandora's box.
It is.
AI has the potential to revolutionize cybersecurity,
Uh-huh.
but it also introduces these whole new ethical challenges.
That we need to figure out.
Yeah, we need to be proactive.
This whole conversation has been so insightful.
It has been interesting.
Technology is constantly evolving, blurring the lines between right and wrong, and it's challenging all of our notions of justice and responsibility in the digital world.
It really is.
So what can our listeners take away from this?
Well, I think first remember that knowledge is power.
Okay.
The more you understand about cyber threats
Uh-huh.
and the tactics scammers use,
Right.
the better you'll be at protecting yourself.
Okay.
Stay informed about the latest trends.
Mm-hmm.
Be skeptical of suspicious emails or messages.
Right.
And always verify information before sharing personal details.
So cybersecurity, it's not just a technical issue.
No, it's not.
It's a human issue.
It is.
And the decisions we make online, the tools that we use, the actions we take,
Yeah.
they all have ethical dimension.
Yeah, they do.
And we need to move beyond this black and white thinking of good guys versus bad guys.
Thoroughly.
Because the digital world is way more complex than that.
That's a lot more nuanced.
And as technology continues to evolve,
Yeah.
we're going to face new ethical dilemmas
For sure.
that require careful consideration
Yeah.
and thoughtful discussion.
Absolutely.
Srhoe's story has given us a lot to think about.
It has.
The power of ethical hacking,
Mm-hmm.
the evolving threat of cybercrime,
Right.
and the importance of ethical considerations in the
Yeah.
digital age.
It all matters.
So we hope you found this deep dive informative
Yeah.
and thought-provoking.
I hope so.
And remember, the future of technology is in our hands.
That's right.
Let's shape it wisely
Yes.
and responsibly. This is the deep dive signing off.